It's a happy Thursday to you. It's so good to see you after yesterday. I hope you had a good night and you are ready for the day. So I'm still Charity Mbide, your MC, and it's truly such a joy to see you all today. So yesterday we had a very rich, layered, and full of insight day, and we closed with a lovely welcome reception. It was amazing to interact with all of you in the evening. And so this morning, we kicked off with an invite-only breakfast side event, the CRVS Partners Roundtable, that went really well. And so we had a powerhouse conversation. So let's give a round of applause to all our panelists for the morning. We had Mr. Amos, Ms. Milka, Dr. Montasa, Ms. Jennifer, and Dr. Patrick, as well as Dr. Abdul Rahman. Let's put our hands together even as we appreciate them for that amazing session. All right, great. So we are going to continue with the program. And as yesterday we had very, very insightful sessions, we are going to have a very brief summary, even as you go through what you were able to cover yesterday. And to give us the rapid review of the insights from day one, I'm going to invite Ms. Myra Bovinik, the Senior Fellow Emeritus, Center for Global Development, with the insights. Let's put our hands together for Ms. Myra. All right, so we're going to get the review. Let's give it up for Ms. Myra one more time. Let's put our hands together for her. She gives us the day one insights.
Okay, I'm going to try to do a review of the main themes of yesterday. It's a huge task because it was a very rich day. But first, and very importantly, to just acknowledge that 42 countries are represented in this fourth symposium, and it's amazing. I'm going to talk about the basic premises that came up yesterday and the context, and then sort of where the progress is, and then what the challenges are. First, in terms of basic premises, as I think somebody said at the beginning, is we cannot improve what we cannot measure. And counting people is important, but making people count is all what it's about CRVS. CRVS is not just about recording events. It's about recognizing lives. Every registration is a validation of identity, belongings, and rights. And the CRVS is uniquely important for women's rights and for women's empowerment. I was very happy that yesterday, power and the empowerment of women was something that came up. The importance of this conference, I think, in terms of the context, it's taking place when there's a rollback on financing for development and development data, and a rollback on women's rights. So it is a very important time for the conference and for trying to fight this rollback. The conversations, I think, yesterday underscored that inclusive CRVS systems are the scaffolding of modern governance, essentials for resilient health and education systems, effective social protection, inclusive social and economic services. The conversation underscored the importance of robust CRVS systems throughout the life cycle, especially important for women who are particularly affected by these life cycle events. What is the state of progress? I think that yesterday we saw that there has been significant progress tied to improvements in technologies, and Rwanda and Kenya are primary examples in the region, and importantly tied to improved regional and international collaboration. I think we were all struck by how the sessions showed this collaboration. For instance, Statistics Afrique, API CRVS that has been going on for 16 years, the collaboration that we heard from Latin America, CRVS decade in the Asia region and the Arab countries. Clearly, this has been a major progress. Other innovations, Thailand, for instance, we heard yesterday, integrated CRVS and health systems to include undocumented immigrants and refugees under universal health coverage. Zambia links CRVS and ID systems to women's financial inclusion throughout banking initiatives. Benin addressed under-registration of marriages with attention to gender norms and key barriers. And Kenya aligned health information systems and CRVS, strengthening both health outcomes and data completeness. Progress also we saw in tools. There's a proliferation of CRVS and ID assessment tools, from WHO's SCORE, ESCAP's inequality assessment, UNECA's rapid assessment, to the World Bank gender assessment tool. While these tools serve different technical purposes, the discussion, however, revealed an urgent need for greater coherence across tools, stronger gender sensitivity, and clearer pathways from assessment to action. So what are the challenges defining the future work that this conference needs to take on? There has been, as we saw, a lot of progress, but this progress is uneven. Coordination is still lacking, especially with non-traditional partners, like commercial banks, for instance, in Zambia, or telecoms in Kenya with the Ministry of Health. Poor coordination between ministries at the national and local levels, and the Arab countries reminded us of this. What are the major common hurdles with specific focus on gender equality is, and we heard it from across the span of countries, the recording of deaths and causes of deaths. And we saw interesting questions on verbal autopsy. And, you know, there's a really important role of women that in recording, and that is many times critical in recording these deaths. Recording of marriage and divorce is the other big hurdle, and this is particularly important for women. And what are because to prevent child marriages, for instance, and a question was raised as to what are the incentives that can be used by countries to register marriages. Other challenges, a very important challenge is the funding and the financing, the huge financing gap. We heard yesterday that the countries are spending 55 million annually against what is needed, that is 4 times as much, 252 million annual. So we need to integrate financing, and we need to do domestic resource mobilization, and very importantly, increase the number of donors that support CRVS. Then there is the issue of data system integration and the expansion of data usage from evidence to action. We need operations research and scaling up and implementation sciences. So finally, summing up across all sessions, several threads that came up through the discussions were, first, gender is a central pillar. It's not a side note, but defining the lens of CRVS transformation. Digital transformation is an enabler when guided by ethics, privacy, and inclusivity. Financing and sustainability are the Achilles heel of CRVS progress. Partnership and coordination is the bridge between fragmented efforts and systemic change. And finally, and very importantly, data use and impact. Registration is only the start. The real goal is using CRVS data to drive equity, planning, and accountability. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Myra, for that insightful and beautifully grounded rapid review of day 1. Let's give her, let's show her a warm appreciation one more time for that powerful synthesis. Great. And now, as we carry the momentum forward into our first session of the day, we turn to the spotlight to a theme that sits right at the heart of our gender equality, and that is marriage and divorce registration. Session 6 is titled Country Case Studies on Marriage and Divorce Registration, Gender Equity, and Women's Empowerment. And we'll be having Ms. Violet run this session, who is the program manager at the Center of Excellence for CRVS Systems, UNFPA. So with a round of applause, help me welcome Ms. Violet on stage.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Charity. And I want to just begin by talking into this area of marriage and divorce registration. On Tuesday, we had an exciting side event, a technical workshop on marriage and divorce registration, where we had a lot of incredibly rich discussions. It brought, that particular session brought together countries that have done various assessments, in-depth and also rapid assessment, together with their several regional partners that have been supporting the work on strengthening marriage and divorce registration. This technical workshop and side event was co-hosted by UNFPA, UNECA, and UNICEF, and it has been an exciting journey of close to 2 years now, almost 2 years, where a technical working group was constituted at the Africa regional level, and and at the same time in the Latin America and the Caribbean, assessments for 19 countries were commissioned by our regional office at UNFPA LACRO. So the two efforts have been taking place concurrently, and we had a very good opportunity to bring all the partners around the room and for a full day discuss marriage and divorce registration. It brought insights from Africa, Arab states, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. We started from a clear recognition that this is an area long neglected in CRVS, yet central to achieving legal identity for all. The conversation reminded us that marriage and divorce registration are not only social events, but they are legal transitions that shape rights, obligations, and access to services, and that without their registration, our national systems from CRVS to social protection remain incomplete. So in our understanding, in the Africa region, the initiative began from a decision at the 5th Conference of Ministers, where the ministers responded to the realization that while we've made a lot of progress in birth and death registration, marriage and divorce were still lagging behind. Over the past years, many countries have then began to do in-depth assessments under 6 pillars. That's law, processes, ICT, demand, coordination, and statistics. We'll be listening to the outcome of these assessments from Arab states, Africa region as a whole, that's Sub-Saharan Africa, and we'll also be listening to Latin America and the Caribbean. They'll be sharing a lot of insights from what the assessment brought on the table. The session also was about learning from this assessment, but also having a conversation on exactly what the issues, the socio-cultural issues that affect marriage and divorce registration. So from West and Central Africa, we have a special study that looks at social and behavior change factors that affect marriage and divorce registration. And we'll be listening to that presentation only. So that we get straight, I'm going to request my first presenter, and that's David and Willis, to come on stage, and their presentation can be put up so that we hear from the Africa and Arab states, what the assessment looked at and the insight. This will be followed by the presentation from West and Central Africa by Bolade, who will be bringing in the social and cultural issues behind marriage and divorce registration. This is an insight paper that was done by Irina Dinsu, and she's online, but she's not able to come come and present to you. So Bolade will be doing that on behalf of the team in Wekaro. And then after that, we are going to engage with Asia and the Pacific, and we are going to hear from Latin America and the Caribbean. So they are short presentations, I hope. So I'll ask David to go first, and then Willis. Let's give a loud applause.
Thank you, the moderator. My name is David Nzeimana, a consultant working with UNFPA, SRO, but also other regions, Asiro and Wekaro. So we did this assessment of marriage and divorce registration in Africa. And when you talk about divorce, there is also judicial separation, but also other types of dissolution, such as annulments and so on and so forth. So we did assessment for that. And we have introduction, global obligation methodology, and the area that we assessed, and what are the findings. These findings from the rapid assessment across Africa. Before we talk about that, let's go through the international commitment. Why do we need registration of marriage and divorce? But what is marriage first? Unlike birth and death, which are biological events with the standard medical definitions and documentation, marriage is socially constructed and varies by culture, religion, and laws. And therefore, marriage and divorce registration is more complex than those clinical processes for birth and death. These international obligations, such as the Convention on Consent to Marriage and minimum age, require that all marriage be registered in an appropriate official register by a competent authority, and reinforce consent and minimum age safeguards. We have also the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which obliges state parties to eliminate discrimination in all matters relating to marriage and dissolution. So in addition to those obligations, we have other obligations, such as the international, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We have also the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the right of women in Africa, known as Maputo Protocol. In its Article 6, it emphasizes the registration of marriage. You have also International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. In its Article 23, they also underscore the registration of marriage. With reading together these instruments, they create a coherent normative architecture. The common denominator is universal and timely registration of every marriage and the systematic recording of every dissolution. The assessment we conducted, we had these objectives: to document current practices in registering marriage and divorces across various regimes, identify systemic gaps, and form an actionable context-appropriate guidelines framework to strengthen performance. We used a participatory and multi-phased approach with the triangulation across legal, administrative, and operational sources. A systematic desk review mapped the legal and institutional architecture and flagged the gaps and biases. Qualitative inquiry was conducted with the Registrar Generals of Marriage in 22 countries, included also UN agencies and CRVS stakeholders as informat, and some of them are here. We also explored workflows, barriers, and good practices, and first country cases and good practices, and findings were co-developed and validated at the expert group meeting, which was organized in Malabo in June 2025. What are aligned with UN principles and recommendations for CRVS, the API CRVS Improvement Framework, and the UN Legal Identity Agenda? The assessment covered 6 domains, which are legal policy governance, coordination framework, service design and operations, digitization and interoperability, demand creation and community engagement, and the production and use of vital statistics. What are the findings? Starting with the vital statistic production, and the use of vital statistics related to marriage and divorce. We have efforts in many African countries, but despite those ongoing efforts, the routine production and dissemination of marriage and divorce statistics remain inconsistent across African countries. Many UN member states, including several African countries, do not report any marriage and divorce registration data. And the data from literature and very few countries that produce data shows, you can see on the map, Northern Africa countries, some Arab states, generally demonstrate high registration completeness, supported by strong legal framework and well-integrated digital system. Algeria, for instance, report a near universal completeness rate due to robust local registry systems and effective oversight by the Ministry of Justice. In contrast, many countries in West Africa, West and Central Africa, experience severe under-registration, as you can see. Completeness rates in several of these countries fall below 10% due to the exclusion of customary and religious marriage from the formal registration framework and limited access to services in rural areas. Botswana and Angola, just to single out some few countries, for example, they report a completeness rate of 5% and 6% respectively. Countries in East and Southern Africa, SADC countries, tend to exhibit a moderate completeness rate, typically ranging between 20 and 40%. And in Central Africa, limited data processing capacity and fragmented registration system hinder the availability of complete and reliable statistics. There is less integration between legal and statistical systems and the exclusion of non-civil marriage from official records. Talking about the legal systems in Africa, our Africa continent has a legal pluralism which shape how marriage are formed, dissolved, and recorded. Civil law systems rely on codified statutes and formal procedures, and that is mainly from the Francophone countries. And in Anglophone countries or British legacy countries, they have common laws which combine statutes and precedent, which yield more flexible judicial interpretation. Islamic marriage treat marriage as a contract and accommodate specific dissolution pathways, such as talaq and khula. While customary marriage emphasizes community rights, negotiation, and mediation with the documentation often outside civil registry. Hindu and Christian marriage are conducted under religious rights, but typically align to national civil framework. In Francophone civil law system, as I said, marriage validity is anchored in a civil act before the civil registry. Religious and customary rights acquire civil effect only after transcription. And several Sahel family codes require spouse to declare a regime, either monogamy or polygyny at the time of marriage. In Anglophone, with the common law system, countries are more explicitly plural, and they accredit religious or traditional leaders as celebrants of marriage, but they have to submit returns to the civil registrar for official registration and civil effects. And in Lusophone countries, their jurisdiction follow what they call conservatorial model, in which registration itself constitutes the marriage. And in Arabophone, the Arab state, my colleague will talk about it, Islamic personal status law govern formation and dissolution, while civil registration remains compulsory, with Tunisia recognizing only civil marriage. And you have also Equatorial Guinea with the Spanish legal system, which largely mirror to civil registration in Francophone countries. And across all contexts, civil registration provides authoritative proof and is the gateway to right services and vital statistics. In terms of the institutional arrangement and coordination and governance, the institutional responsibilities range from integrated CRVS authorities that manage all vital events to fragmented model where marriage and divorce sit under justice, while birth and death sit under home affairs, territorial administration or local government or decentralization or health ministry. And recent shift illustrate dynamic governance. For example, in Malawi, our registrar is here. Malawi has moved marriage registration from the justice, just to facilitate the citizen to access services by moving the system from the justice to the local government under the National Registration Bureau. And with that, NRB is also, that is National Registration Bureau, is adding marriage module and into the existing registration system of birth and death. And such changes actually have reduced fragmentations. In terms of the registration procedures and operation, I'm going to be quick. The pathway to register a marriage include application and provide document required, and also verification and waiting, solemnization and registration, and certification. For divorce, country follow court-led registration notification, where court have to transmit decrees to the civil registration agency. But also in some few countries, individual present decrees, but also we have some hybrid models, such as South Sudan, Tanzania, where the court send decrees to the civil registration. So in terms of the digital tools and ICT, as you can see, digitization is uneven in many countries, and among 22 countries that have responded to our questionnaire, some countries are deploying electronic systems, but end-to-end digitization is rare. Only some steps are computerized. In terms of demand, completeness is not only a supply problem. Norms and incentives matter. In many communities, civil certificates are perceived as low utility because religious or customary rights are seen as sufficient. High informality reduces transactional demand, since benefits are concentrated among formal workers. Another insight, very interesting, some men resist registration due to perceived asset or custody risk during divorce. Operational barriers include distance, transport, multiple visits, documented burden fees, and stamp duties, and other costs that are involved. All of this compound these norms. Legal and procedural factors add further friction, including polygamy and monogamy choices at registration. What are the recommendations? We are recommending from this assessment that countries need to move from norms to national laws and shift from obligation to execution. We need to transpose, countries should codify recognition of all legal permitted marriage forms and designate who may ceremonize and who must register. Law and regulation must establish civil effect across regimes and require timely notification from religious and traditional authorities to the civil registry. Court decrees must systematically update marital status in civil registers and population databases. Where right recognition for unregistered union exists, safeguard should be carefully designed to avoid negative incentives while protecting vulnerable spouses and children. So we have some what we propose as immediate action, including to simplify and standardize form, accredit and train religious and traditional marriage officers, waive fees and stamp duties where they deter registration. We have also some medium term action, which include enacting harmonized laws and legal amendments, and consolidate our laws into a harmonized law. Thank you so much. Here, come.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Willis Odek. Where is it?
It's the same slide.
Yeah, but I want to move the... Is somebody moving them for me? Were you using this? Yes. Okay, great. Again, good morning. I'm Willis Odek. I work for UNFPA at the Arab States Regional Office based in Cairo. I'm the Regional Population and Development Advisor. So I'll just pick up from where David left and just give you an overview or a summary of the findings from the assessment that he mentioned, but focusing on the Arab states. By definition, Arab states is made up of 22 countries. 8 of those countries are located in Africa, and the rest are in the Middle East. So we tried to combine from the two areas. David has already talked about the importance of marriage and divorce, but I think the other area to emphasize is that marriage and divorce, when well done, can also help us eliminate the great challenge we have of child marriage. So I won't go further into that. Again, the objectives are the same, but I just want to emphasize that as part of this assessment, we're also trying to look at the strengths that exist, some of the best practices that are there, and also opportunities for innovation, especially around marriage and divorce registration. As already explained, we had a desk review, and also we had a questionnaire to assess the practices in the various countries. In terms of the questionnaire, it looked at the current marriage and divorce registration practices, as well as the vital statistics production process. And respondents came from various ministries, including Justice, Interior, and even the national statistical offices. In the case of Arab states, in addition to the questionnaire, we were also able to undertake a field visit to Jordan and also have online consultations with Algeria. In total, we had this number of countries highlighted here. Those in bold are the ones that completed both the questionnaire and literature review or document review was completed for them as well. So let me just go to a summary of the key findings. And I'll present this by countries. And briefly, I'll just highlight some of the key system strengths and gaps that exist. If you take Lebanon, for example, their biggest challenge there is the plural legal systems that they use. I think that has been mentioned already. And then there's also the challenge of late registration and registration of marriages that are happening outside the country are not being captured. There's also weak coordination, which is largely ad hoc with no clear memoranda of understanding among the various partners. The process in that country is still highly paper-based, and in terms of inclusion, certain population groups are not adequately covered. When you move to Egypt, again, largely paper-based processes, again, and also with fragmented mandates among the various ministries involved. So you've got several ministries, as already explained earlier, but there is not sufficient coordination there. And then for certain population groups, access barriers and financial constraints present challenges to marriage and divorce registration. Egypt has made progress, but they also face challenges with parallel civil and religious registration systems, which result in under-registration, and also, just like the other agencies, coordination is also a problem. In that particular country, there's great effort towards digitalization. Much of that is happening in the back end, even though there's use of digital, there's a new effort now to digitize marriage and divorce registration. Rural communities, in some areas, depending on the kind of marriage that they had, there's a barrier linked to the stigma if the marriage is not civil. Somalia, in terms of the legal framework, they're just working on a draft CRVS law now, and most of the marriages in the country are either religious or customary, and those present their own challenges. Coordination is an issue. There's a technical working group that is in place, but its performance is still dependent or awaiting that draft bill to be in place. Efforts are being made to establish an open CRVS pilot for managing, for digitalization of vital events, but that is currently only focusing on births and deaths, and with marriage and divorce not yet captured. Certain population groups face challenges such as the pastoralists and displaced people. Algeria has one of the strongest legal and technical frameworks for its CRVS, and also a centralized registry that has linkages with other ministries, such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and even the Ministry of Justice. And through their integrated national ID system, they are able to bring these data sets together more appropriately, particularly for statistical purposes. However, even with that kind of work, subnational level coverage is still suboptimal. Let me then just summarize quickly among these various countries what then appear as the common strengths and their weaknesses. So we see very clear legal text in most of the countries built on the Islamic law. We have in many of the countries that have been included in this assessment, they have some focal points that are handling CRVS issues, but the issues of coordination still could be improved. On digitalization, yes, there are some good examples there, but we've also seen countries that are still reliant on paper-based systems. I think the good thing is the dedication of the national statistical offices to generating civil vital statistics, but most of those tend to be aggregate estimates, and then the indicators are not comparable. So there are many countries that just produce crude marriage, divorce rates, and crude marriage and divorce rates that are not sufficiently informative. In terms of resources, there are few countries that have existing resource and human resource capacity strengthening initiatives, and I'll highlight this shortly with the case of Jordan. Outreach, only a few of the countries have community-based outreach to promote marriage and divorce registration. And some of the marginalized populations, the region is also characterized by high population displacement and cross-border movements, and many of those populations face hurdles, not just for marriage and divorce, but even other vital events. Let me just highlight quickly some of the practices in Jordan that could be considered to be promising. And on the end-to-end digital workflow, they've got an app, particularly for marriage and divorce registration, that allows for scheduling and registering marriage details without the need for physical presence. The unified national ID system, I think, has really contributed to the statistical data production. The public awareness campaigns through a Mabruk, which is a dedicated initiative to mobilize community members for marriage and divorce registration. And there's also an effort to look at marriage and divorce from another side, also promoting family reconciliation, so that it's not just about the beginning and end of marital unions. And there's also human rights oversight to that. In Algeria, quickly, they've got a fully equipped mobile unit that mobilizes communities for registration. And there's also a very strong integration between the CRVS and the Interior Ministry's database. And also, the National Statistical Office makes deliberate effort to collect data monthly from the various municipalities and compile those into the national vital statistics. In summary, therefore, if you think about the key priorities that these countries have, focusing just on the topmost one, for Lebanon, it is about creating an interministerial steering committee. For Djibouti, it's about establishing a central CRVS coordination mechanism. For Egypt, it's about having the role played by the National Statistical Office legalized and coordination formalized. And for Somalia, it's about enacting their law, while for Algeria, it's about building upon their current systems to also integrate with health and social protection. We have representatives from Somalia, Djibouti, and Algeria here who are able to provide more insights to this later on if you have any questions. I'll stop there, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move to West and Central Africa for another different perspective on a study on social and behavior change. I'll request Claudina to join us on stage from wherever she is. Just please join us. You're next. Bolade, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. I thought it was 15. 5. Oh, no.
You're speaking in English or French. Anyway, go ahead. You have
And
the floor.
5 minutes. Okay, I will try. I wasn't prepared for 5 minutes, but I will try. Okay, good morning, everyone. This work,
We need slide, this slide, it's Lacro.
okay, thank you so much. This work, the main content of the document or the presentation has been prepared by our senior consultant for West and Central Africa Regional Office, and I am Bolade Banunye, Program Data Analyst at the same office. And the work I'm going to present are from the findings on study conducted by IRINA, in addition to the assessment we did, and that my colleague, my friend, David talks about. So you can see in this on this slide, 93% of marriages in part of the region exist outside the law, and this is impacting over 100 million women and girls. This is, we call, Irina called this crisis the crisis of invisibility. And the data there confirms a systemic collapse. Civil registration rates are as low as 2 to 14% in several countries. She conducted her studies, and 68 to 95% of those marriages are either religious or customary. And most shockingly, the work she conducted in Chad revealed that 93% of those marriages, even when they are recorded, even when they are celebrated, fail to be recorded with a proper documentation. And this leaves like over 100. She did an estimation in the region, and she found that around 100 million of women and girls are impacted. I've said that already previously. And then why registration matters. A missing certificate, like you can see, on the very first quadrant, show that a missing certificate is a direct barrier to survival. And without it, women lose property, inheritance, and rights, and many more, and children as well. And children inherit their parent invisibility, blocking them from basic rights and necessities. It denies access to justice, divorce, or custody, and many more. And it blocks access to banking, social protection, and other economic benefits. The inequality starts, on the one. Across the region, there is a consistent 9 to 10 years age gap between spouses' age at marriage. And with a kind of power imbalance where men, in most of the time, have a quite higher education level than women. So the key message there is that marriage in the region is often an unequal partnership from the start, a fact our registration system must address, not ignore. And advancing the agenda of marriage and divorce registration can help us address this issue. So, the data from Jamina is, a study she also conducted showed that 57% of married women lack a secondary education, and men are 2.5 times more likely to have higher education as compared to women. This channel 53%, more than half of married women, into unpaid household work, while men control income and assets. This creates total economic dependency, and people working on NTA and many other stuff, point this out most of the time. People choose, according to the study, 3 ways to marry, and 66% of the unions are religious. And why? As one respondent told us, religious marriage is God's will. The other civil marriage is a human invention. Our systems cannot compete with the spiritual and social weight of these ceremonies. So the 93% documentation failure here is one of the most critical findings, and even civil marriages fail. The system fails to produce certificates for 75% of civil unions, and this is due to weak infrastructure, unofficial fees, and basic supplies like registration books. And this is state of failure, not citizen failure, as we think. Then a few countries provided the blueprint, and example Guinea, and for example there are new laws that recognize religious and customary marriages as legally valid when transcribed, and they simplify the process, embedded baseline gender protections, and made registration free. The projected impact, as calculated by our consultant, is about 40-fold increase in registration, from 2% to 79%. And this is one of the findings from her assessment. David has already pointed this out, so I will not spend my time there. And here also, David mentioned, all this. So then, I still have 1 minute, right? Okay. So we are at a crossroad, and we can continue with the status quo we are in now, a part of systematic exclusion, or we can pursue comprehensive reform, like oh, no way. We are here, yeah. We conduct reform, or we stay in the status quo. And the second requires a political will. And then the question is, will we acknowledge this invisible majority and act, or we will allow another generation to be illegally erased? And the key message is, the evidence is clear and the solution exists. The only missing ingredient is the political courage to act now, and also the part we play in improving the system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As Claudina takes the floor, I want to provide the linkage. If you remember David's presentation, he showed a map where the blue area was West and Central Africa. They are the lowest coverage. Now we have begun through the wonderful work of Irina to explore the social, cultural factors that contribute to that low coverage. So we hope that more and more regions will also do this in-depth study because we have to assess what's the reason behind the numbers. So welcome, Claudina. We are moving to Latin America and the Caribbean.
Thank you, Violet. Good morning, everyone, and hola en español.
Yeah, I think we have the wrong slide. We need the one for Latin America. Claudina. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just to say hi in Spanish. And Jimbo, I'm trying to learn some. Jumbo, sorry, Jumbo.
Okay, I'll make a decision. Let Litsuane come. The one you have just put, Litsuane can come as we find your slide. Sorry, Litsuane, just put Litsuane's up. Oh, good. We found it. Thank you. No, you have yours now. But Litsuane can join us here because you're next.
Okay. Okay, here's the presentation from Latin American and the Caribbean. I'm from, yeah, thank you. I feel that I have 1 minute. Just 1 minute. The presentation is from Latin American and Caribbean, and the words it was literally with Sabrina Duran, advisor from Data and Population Dynamic from LACRO, and with contribution with another country regions. So at this point of the meeting, everyone knows that CRVS systems are essential, but I have to call your attention in the second line. UNSPN emphasizes gender-sensitive viral statistics, especially for marriage and divorce. And marriage and early and forced child unions are underreported and pose serious risks to girls' rights and development. The objectives of these works have two parts. One was systemizing legal frameworks and identify gaps. The study covered the period from 2010 to 2023 and developed a guide to evaluate CRVS system on marriage and divorce. I'm going to pass the conceptual frameworks, and here are some funds in the regions. Legal recognition of union varies informal unions. In Latin America and the Caribbean, unions is part of the culture from the middle of the 20th century and to the present days, increase free unions and decrease in marriage. And the other big and important phenomenon of child marriage. 11 countries carry out legislative reform. However, 8 countries enable marriage between minors, that's Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Nicaragua, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Venezuela. But also Colombia, Paraguay, and Uruguay are debating projects at the national level to increase the minimum age of marriage. The same house David presentation. Here is the Latin American and the Caribbean maps, and you can see the type of denomination of free unions and the type of instrument. We have Dominican Republic with constitution and another country with law and another type of instrument. The other points on legal and institutional context are equal marriage right, progressive but uneven. 10 countries have a regulation equal marriage, that's Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Ecuador, Mexico, and Uruguay. And divorce law different in terms of accessibility, cost, protection from gender-based violence. Again, these are different types of legal instruments from the different countries in the region. And here are some challenges in CRVS for marriage and divorce in Latin American and Caribbean. 4 points: underreporting in informal unions, low priority for registering divorce, difficulty in international comparability due to the cultural and legal diversity, and lack of data hiding visibility of early and forced union and related risks. The second part of this presentation are the evaluation methodology. It also have 3 parts. One was analyze marriage and divorce from CRVS system, have identification of National Statistical Office, origin of information on marriage and divorce, covers continuity, confidentiality, and periodic disclosure. The second part was procedure for evaluating marriage and divorce records. We have another 2 sub-components, selecting the data source to evaluate and evaluating the quality of data source. Another part is data disaggregation and international comparability. Try to generate a database on marriage and divorce that has the largest number of disaggregation variables to comparability between countries in the region. Some of the key funding, CRVS system varied in coverage and quality in the region. Legal frameworks are different across country. Early and forced unions remain invisible due to the poor data, and divorce registers face economic and accessibility barriers. Here are some recommendations and strategic implementation, like the presentation before, CRVS system for marriage and divorce data, harmonized legal frameworks to improve registration and protection, improve data collection, and promote gender-sensitive approach in viral statistica. So the strategic implications are also SDG number 5 on gender equality, evidence-based policy, protection for vulnerable people or population, improve the demographic planning. So final consideration, CRVS system of foundational rights, visibility and planning, investment in quality, inclusive data is essential, and regional collaboration and legal reform are key to progress. And also, I want to show you another products in the Latin American and the Caribbean regional office. The structured approach to CRVS are in 3 parts: evaluation, quality, and covers, routine monitoring and analysis of key topics, and strengthening the CRVS system and integration to register-based statistics. And there are the picture of the country document that the LACRO produced in the last year. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now we look at what the countries have documented as their best practices. And we have 2 countries. One is a research by WIDI, should be coming after Lithuania. So Lithuania has the stage to give us the insights from Lesotho. WIDI, get ready to close this session or these presentations with your research on Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Violet and everyone. Mine, I have to rush because I have seen the referee here hosting the flag. So I'm hopeful that I won't take a long time, but I will skip most of the slides and concentrate mostly on what we have been doing in Lesotho in order to integrate the marriage registration in our system. Okay. We have laws, I don't have to bother you, but we have 2 types of marriage in my country. That is the customary marriage and civil marriage. Under the civil marriages, we have different religious marriages that are governed under that act. But also we have the National Identity Cards Act that has consolidated all vital events under one roof, that is under National Identity and Civil Registry. Yes, so historically, the marriages, the civil marriages from faith-based organizations, the returns were being effected at Registrar General's office. That's where the registration and the safekeeping of records were taking place. For the other leg of civil marriages that are being done in the government, they were done under district administrators, under the Ministry of Local Government. And the customary marriages were with the families and the chiefs. The challenges with that system was basically it was all manual, and the distance was mainly the barrier for ministers of religions to travel from the furthest part of our country to effect just a return, and the cost for that was being borne by such a marriage officer or minister of religion. There were incidences where we realized that some of the marriage officers were not gazetted, and they were not being monitored. The marriage register books were not kept well, but with the customary marriage one, you find that the actual agreement is with the families, not with the couples. So they are married, but they do not have any proper document to show that they are married. They are married. But also under the customary marriage one, when we registered, we picked that the underage marriage was so prevalent that from the age of 12, the girls were getting married. But in 2013, the country had transitioned into an integrated system, including registration of all vital events. However, from that time up until end of the year 2023, that is only when we decided now to register the marriages. Why? Because we had actually started from the scratch, register reimburse. That's the aim was to now provide unique identifier from registration of birth, and that affected everyone, the young ones and the old ones. So basically we didn't have a system. But then because of the burden, we could not now integrate registration of marriages. We intentionally left it out completely. We only started registering marriages at the end of 2023. Yes, so now the efforts to now integrate the registration of marriage, we started with meetings with faith-based organizations and the Office of Registrar General under the Ministry of Law, that now is the time for us to start registering the marriages. In fact, now the returns had to stop from being sent to the office of the Registrar General, but now to the nearest district offices countrywide. That was also an advantage in terms of what I mentioned earlier, in terms of the distance that these ministers of religions had to travel to. So also we had to set up dedicated desks for them to not go to our offices and take the whole day to just effect a return. And also, we had also set up another desk at head office where they can call in. You'll see with this slide, where we have given them the toll-free number for them to actually call in. The essence was for us to monitor the challenges they may be facing when effecting the returns. But not only that, we had decided that they should be given in fact, we gave them our marriage registration forms, that the ones that you usually fill in when you come to register your marriage, that they should actually be with them in their offices before they solemnize the marriage. They fill the form. When they return it, when effecting a return, we just register, not sit down and start filling up the form. That is one of the innovations that we did. But also, we sensitize the public as well as the congregants through the ministers of religion that we are not leaving out the old records. We had a view now. In fact, our view is that we are now digitizing the old records. Now coming with the unique identifier, it becomes easier. We also made sure that the marriage officers now understood the requirements. For example, they may find that one of the couples is not from Lesotho, and they need to understand the requirements that must be submitted, the paperwork that must be submitted before they can actually solemnize such a marriage. For example, the letter of non-impediment from the foreign country is one, but also the usage of the IDs, that they should be able to realize that the marriage they are about to solemnize is not involved. One of the parties is not underage. Yes. So, but also we had other efforts that we had to go and visit their services, actually to talk to their congregants about registration of marriages as well. With the customary marriages, initially what we were doing was, if you are married customarily, but you need to go and access the FCs, we will actually issue a confirmation of marital status instead of actually registering your marriage. That was mainly because in South Africa, with the minors' spouses, they had to go there and claim their benefits after the passing of their husbands, and then we actually stopped that in 2023, end of year 2023, to actually now register the customary marriages. But before then, we had actually taken advantage of the meetings, monthly meetings that happens with the principal chiefs in our country, to actually sensitize the chiefs that now we are starting to register the customary marriages, and also talked about the requirements to that effect. And also went to the public, of course, to sensitize. Yeah, I'm concluding now. With divorces, there is no law in our country that governs the divorce, only the common law practices. But now, the issue there is the usage of unique identifier, that is usage of ID. We could not actually go to courts and collect the divorces to register now, because we could not identify the parties involved. But we had an agreement with the Chief Justice to actually issue directive that when one institute a divorce, must also include the copy or the unique ID. so that it makes it easier for us to actually uniquely identify the divorce belongs to. Yeah, in fact, that is all. But before I go, I haven't seen a flag. But before I go, what happened was, now the flag just came in. What happened was, with the underage customary marriage that we are picking when we are registering, you find that they involve already old people now. And we made a conscious decision that we will actually register these marriages, because you may find that one of the parties is not even no more anymore. We decided to register those marriages, but at the same time, we made sure that the public knows that from now onwards, we are not going to allow any underage marriages to be registered with our system. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Litsoane. As we comes, that's really a wonderful perspective from countries, because he has given us, after all the assessments that have been done, he's beginning to show us how as governments we can begin to resolve some of these issues. So thank you so much. Another clap for the Kingdom of Lesotho.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to be quick. You're kidding me? All right, just a context. This is Indonesian map. If you haven't ever heard about Indonesia, so we're up on the Australia, and we invite you to come to visit us. We are the most populous country globally. Many people don't know that, so I told you we have 285 million people. A little background of marriage registration in Indonesia. So basically, we have like a dual requirement, and there are two agencies that register marriage in Indonesia. So Muslim marriages is registered by Ministry of Religious Affairs, and non-Muslim marriages is registered by Ministry of Home Affairs. Because of that, our marriage data is not really good. The data is not fully integrated as well. So it's hard to use the data to understand what's going on with people that are registered. But luckily, we have this national socioeconomic survey that was produced by Statistics Indonesia. So it's annually cross-sectional, covering roughly 350,000 households. It's basically provides key demographic and socioeconomic indicators. It was initially collected to provide the government with socioeconomic indicators, but recently they also collect information on birth certificate ownership and population ID number ownership. And the recent SUSENA's data in 2022, they also asked whether the individuals have a marriage certificate. So do they have marriage certificate? Can I see it? So these are the answers. Whether they can show the marriage certificate to the enumerator, whether they cannot show, they say that they don't have. So this marriage certificate actually can serve as evidence for marriage registration in Indonesia. But there's some limitation, of course, for this data, because the question of marriage certificate posed to all ever married individuals. That's why later on in the analysis we will restrict it to currently married individuals. It's a cross-sectional. And because we talk about child marriage as well, but the sample size for married girls under 18 is very small, around 500. So it's a little bit difficult to analyze the child marriage, but maybe later on we'll try to do some exercise there as well. But SUSENA's also does not capture contextual factors such as marriage motivations, decision-making processes, dowry practices, or parental consent. So that's some of the limitation. So in this exercise, we are using the 2030 Susanus data to identify factors associated with marriage certificate ownership among currently married individuals. So when I say currently married individuals, they are those who were married at the time of the survey. So let's see. So yeah. So among the currently married individuals, like we see that 59% report that they have marriage certificate and they can show it to the enumerator. 32% say they have, but they cannot show it to the enumerator. So if we combine those two answers and we treat it as those who have marriage certificates, it's quite high. Surprisingly, the number is 91%. But there's among currently married individuals, we also want to see like the ownership of birth certificate. Like we see that actually the ownership of birth certificate is, so we like 44% do not have birth certificate, and 33% have it and can show it during the survey. 23 have it but cannot show it during the survey. And for the population ID number, I think we already almost achieved universal, like it's 99.4 already have national population ID number, and only 0.6 that report don't have population ID number. So we want to look at the difference between those who have marriage certificate and those who don't have marriage certificate. So if we see like those who have marriage certificate and those who don't have marriage certificate, like among those who don't have marriage certificate, we could see like most of, I think it's 82. I can't even see, but sorry, it's 82% do not have birth certificates. So like there is a link between those who don't have marriage certificate with those who don't have like birth certificate as well. So there is a link of probably there. Right, population ID, there is not much different, but still who don't have marriage certificate have a relatively little bit lower population ID number. So this also interesting because among those who don't have marriage certificate mostly are the age of, the older population. So 50 to 60, while those who have marriage certificate, it's more young adults, like productive adults. There is not much different on female and male. Urban-rural status of residents, so those who have marriage certificate, they're mostly in urban area. Those who don't have marriage certificate, mostly in rural area. Highest education attainment, like those who don't have marriage certificate have relatively more lower education attainment, like elementary school is the highest. Yeah, so lifetime migration. So those who have marriage certificate has, well, mostly they don't have a difference from the birth location with their current location, but those who have marriage certificate has a higher number whose the current and birth location is different. So access to health insurance. We can see that those who don't have marriage certificate have a higher government subsidized health insurance and higher proportion of do not have any health insurance. Quintile expenditure, we could see that those who don't have merit certificate mostly, and the poorest population. So that's overall our preliminary analysis. So we see that merit certificate ownership surprisingly is relatively high among currently married individuals from our data, but still we have 1 in 9 lacks of certificate altogether. And we see that those who don't have certificate as mostly disproportionately older, rural, less educated, and also less likely to have legal identity documents, also related to their socioeconomic status. So we can, with this identification, I think we can begin improving the access to merit registration by addressing the barriers faced by these particular groups. I think that's my final. Thank you.
You can see how exciting and also really insightful session this is. We can't even all fit here in front of you, but we have done a very good job. I really want us to applaud members of the community. I want us to applaud members of the community of practice on marriage and divorce registration. We have a global community of practice. We have Uganda, we have Guatemala, and many other countries on the floor who are members of that community of practice. And it's as a result of that engagement and conversation that we were able to bring to you this really in-depth discussions and assessments from all over the globe. We have gone across all corners, and we really are grateful for that team. We also thank the MATIC Working Group on Marriage and Divorce Registration in Africa and ASRO, the Arab states, who have really worked very hard to ensure we have assessments and the analysis. I wouldn't want to take that without really acknowledging the effort that has been done. And this is over a period of about 2 years. So really very grateful for everyone. And now we want to move to the floor and take some few questions from plenary, so that I know it's a very exciting session and there's a lot to say, but just to let you know, there's a parallel session tomorrow morning that will continue this conversation. But let's pick some few discussions, 1 or 2, and then we can see what your perspective are. I can see at the back from UN Women, another reflection. Let me see all of them. So we have one more. So we have 2 already, and then we'll close with Romesh. Thank you. So we start at the back.
Thank you. It's Isabella Schmidt, UN Women Regional Office. My question is, you know, one of the areas where the registrations are really low is when we have religious marriages. And my question is, are there good practices in our region where we manage to integrate the record keeping of the religious institutions into our official data systems that you can share? I'm particularly also just thinking of those very low statistics we saw in West Africa. So it might be good to learn more about that.
Thank you. So that question is on the religious marriages, and I think the area, Algeria will respond to this because Algeria has done very well on that. Just that integration of religious marriages. Kenya has an experience, and I don't know whether the registrar of persons is here, because they have done very good on use of the faith-based institutions as notifiers of marriage registration. So what they do is that all the marriages that they officiate, then they are able to take those records and push them towards being registered by the Civil Registration Agency, or they document them. I would really want, if Kenya, we have Sierra Leone Registrar of Marriages here, you could respond to that, or anyone on the floor. The other question? So the tool that you use for the study, the research paper, yes, that is being used in Asia. So I think you will have a bilateral discussion so that we see whether we can be able to do more countries using that. Okay. And I know you did also a multi-country study, Uganda, Guatemala, and Indonesia, but not yet concluded. Yeah. So we have a lot of tools, and they are available. So
Thank you, Violet, and excellent.
Kenya, can we say something from Kenya?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll just come back to you right now because I want you to summarize for everybody. Kenya and Sierra Leone on your experience. So let's first hear from Shaida.
Thank you for excellent panel and the presentations. This data is so important for researchers and for academics to get access to and kind of unravel what are the issues behind some of these. And I was wondering if there's one good practice that you can mention on how you make that data available. I'm from Open Data Watch, so I had to ask that question. And how do you actually have any connections with academics and with the users? Thank you. One practice, and Violet gets to pick which one.
Okay, let me finish with the floor. We have Algeria, Romesh, and then Kenya. Algeria?
Just in order to answer the question about customary marriage in Algeria, we came up with different codes in relation to our laws in order to facilitate the registration of marriages. And so we came up with these special codes to facilitate different parties instead of sending them to the normal court, especially for the registration of traditional marriages. This is just an answer to my colleague who asked a question about good practices in relation to customary marriage. But for the statistic related to these marriage, we are not able to collect a proper statistic, especially for traditional marriage, only if the party involved decide to really register it. So normally we are actually collecting data based on what we have at hand, but all depends on the parties. They need to come and register the marriage.
For the clarification, it's really good to know.
Thanks a lot, Violet, and really big congratulations to all the speakers. For excellent work, and it's really interesting to see some of the progress in what we now understand about marriage and divorce registration and where we are and where we need to go. There was a lot of discussion about laws, and systems enhancements. In some countries, the transfer of marriage registration responsibilities from the Ministry of Justice to an independent statutory authority and things like that. I think that's really helpful and something to take note of. I do recall, there has been some other work which we did some years ago before the third CRVS and Gender Conference in West and Central Africa, which really highlighted this question of who decides and who has the power to register a marriage. One of the interesting things that is a little bit different between marriage registration than birth and death registration is, of course, a marriage is a vital event between two people. And a birth and a death, it's the individual who experiences the birth or the death doesn't actually participate in decision-making about the registration of that vital event. Whereas marriage registration, the people who experience the vital event are very ingrained in the decision-making. And then what we see in many places is that decision-making doesn't just involve those two people. There's often influence from particularly the male side of the in-laws and things like that. And there are issues around concerns about potential implications for inheritance of property and things like that. And so I was wondering, whether any of the speakers could reflect a little bit on, this issue of who decides, power imbalances, and whether some of those issues have come up in some of the assessments and some of the research to date. and what might we do? Thanks.
Okay, so Willis is preparing to respond to Shaida. David will prepare to respond to Romesh. Now we go to Kenya.
Yeah, thank you. For Kenya, what normally happens is that for especially the Christian marriages, we license the ministers of faith. The Register of Marriages licenses the ministers of faith who will perform marriages. And of course, that is done also in line with the registration of the Christian or religious organization. Once they are licensed, they will pick books from the office and they go and perform marriages. But even before that, the parties also have to appear for clearance, then they get a clearance certificate. Once the ministers of faith perform marriages, they have to do returns, and of course the marriage certificate are signed in triplicate. So one copy will remain in the church as a record of the marriage, one original copy will be given to the parties, and the third copy of the marriage certificate, the original, will be also returned to the registrar for purposes of registration and custody. And as we had mentioned on the day 2, on Tuesday, the Registrar of Marriages is the custodian of all marriage records. We have presence in all the 46 counties. The Office of the Attorney General has presence of marriage registrar in 23 currently, but where there is no registrar from the Office of the Attorney General, we've designated deputy county commissioners and assistant county commissioners to perform the marriage registration function. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Any other country? Algeria is back, and I give Algeria, Thailand, and Uganda. Then we close. 1 minute. Djibouti.
C'est juste pour répondre.
It was just to answer the question related to marriage that are not recorded, and in case one party also is no more in our country. Anyone can come up legally in order to register the marriage. It could be either the husband or the wife, it could be either the children. So in case of the death of one of the party, it is not an obstacle, it's not an issue to register the marriage, and it is done. It is completely free. There's no cost related to that. Thailand.
It's not Thailand, it's Pakistan.
Oh, sorry,
Sumaya,
Pakistan.
Dr. Sumaya.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on a bit. It's a pleasure listening to all of you. In Pakistan, we have NADRA, we have a registration authority, and we go very much according to the Kenyan model. However, the clergy or the licensed people who are actually officiating the marriage, they make the nikah-nama or the marriage certificate and quadruplicate. We have progressed from beyond the registration of the marriage itself. We are now issuing family registration certificates, which are again coming from NADRA, which is the registration authority. That family registration certificate will have the husband and the wife in connection to the previous marriage certificate which was issued, and then the children, then the number of children, and sort of continues on. So it's like a pyramid which is being formed, and at the top, coming down the entire family, the family tree.
Okay.
Sort of branches
I think we need to do an assessment of that region and see the diversity in countries. And thank you so much for that information. We'll take note of that. Uganda?
Thank you.
And then Djibouti.
Thank you so much. Again, we're not so different from Kenya. I think I've noted two differences. One is we license the place of worship, not the minister. So we let the ministers, the regions decide who is going to wed there. And then perhaps the second thing I've noted is we have moved ahead and gone to digital. All these licensed places of worship now have an account on our system. And so they simply enter. So the people don't have to come to us and then go to church. They go to church, but everything is entered on our portal, and the certificate is generated from the portal. So they issue that one and we have a record automatically. I think that's what I have noted with the difference, and perhaps it's a good practice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Kenya is next to you, so you are learning and from each other. Djibouti, finally.
Thank you, Olivia. Good morning, and thank you for these insightful presentation. I would like to come back on the presentation done by David. David, in your presentation, you shared with us a map of Africa with different colors and so on. So I would like to come back on that map because you didn't put my country, you put Djibouti in Somali. That's a correction that I want David to make. Thank you.
Understood. David, as you respond also to your question, and then Willis, and we are done. We only have about a minute. Actually, we are done. 2 seconds each.
Thank you, Madam Faridosa. That is well noted. So that will be fixed. So, thank you also, Ramesh, for bringing up that issues of gender and cultural norms. Who decide in the family as when to register a marriage? Civil marriage is perceived as a tool that benefits women, especially in the event of divorce. And we have found that. In an interview with a civil society organization in Rwanda, it has been revealed that many men view civil marriage as a threat to their authority and assets, believing that it grants women greater legal standing and the ability to actually make claims on property during a divorce, during a separation. For these men, registering a marriage means exposing themselves to the risk of judicial interventions in the private sphere. Actually, this belief is further reinforced by the complexity and perceived costliness of formal divorce process. And you find that's why many couples prefer going the other route of customary marriage, religious marriage, which are not legally recognized in many settings. So the issue of gender norms, and these are really very serious, and we need to actually go further and do another exploration to understand how much they affect the registration of marriage. But they are very important.
Thank you. Thank you, David. And South Africa are studying registration of customary marriage. So really, in absentia, the Stats South Africa are doing a study, and we are working with them as UNFPA. And in the next time we convene, we'll be able to share those findings. And those are some of the issues we'll be exploring. So to Willis.
Yeah, thank you. I think the question I'm to address is how to make this data more accessible and to promote research in the wider research community.
And one best practice.
The best practice I can give here is actually Jordan, which has a very dynamic data portal that allows for self-generated analysis. So you can pick indicators from there, analyze, and then use that to build other research questions. A lot of other agencies or national statistical organizations produce reports that do not give you access to the microdata that they use. So I think having more NSOs make this data accessible can be one step towards building research around these issues.
Thank you so much, and that's the end of our wonderful session. On behalf of the community of practice, the Technical Working Group on Marriage and Divorce Registration, UNICEF, UNFPA, and UNECA, we thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at the parallel session.
That was very incredible. Let's give it up for Miss Violet for running that conversation very well. And to our panelists, Mr. David, Miss Claudina, Mr. Willis, Miss Irina, Mr. Bullard, Mr. Widdy, and Miss Litwan. Let's give them another round of applause. Great. Quick to mention, we are still staying social, so we kindly invite you to engage in our dialogue online and help amplify these powerful messages using our official hashtags for the day, hashtag CRVS Gender 2025, hashtag CRVS, hashtag Legal Identity for All, and last but not least, hashtag Gender Equality. So now we are going to be projecting a QR code that will guide us into the next session, that is session 7 on parallel sessions on CRVS, systems assessment, coordination, digitalization, and gender considerations. I'll invite all of us to kindly take up our phones. Let's scan, even as we pick the specific breakout session you'd love to engage in. As you do that, I'll just go ahead and read out the session details to be able to give you more time to go ahead and fill in. Room 1 will be speaking about development, assessment, and redesign of national strategic plans, emerging issues and the next steps. And we have that session chaired by Mr. William Muwava, who will be able to get there a few minutes before time. We are kindly requesting all the panelists to get to the respective rooms 5 minutes early so that you can be able to have the room ready for discussion. Still talking, giving you more details. Room 2, we have interministerial and interagency coordination, lessons learned, emerging gaps, and potential solutions. We have Ms. Tanja, Statistics Division, ESCAP, United Nations, will be able to lead us through that. I can still see some phones up. Let's kindly... Is anybody having any issues scanning?
I'm really sorry. I don't know where the rooms are.
So I'll tell you. So for now, you're scanning, choosing the session. After that, we are going to watch a video, and then immediately after the video, I'll be back to tell you which room goes where. Yes. So that's the plan. So for now, let's kindly scan, pick the room that you want to go to. Room 3 is digitalization, balancing efficiency and modernization with inclusion and accountability. This session will be chaired by Ms. Gloria Madenge. If you have any issues logging into the QR code, just shoot your hand up. Okay, so we're all good. Awesome. If you're already scanned and given your feedback, say hi. Okay, so you still need more people. I'm going to give you a few more minutes to do that. Bad Wi-Fi. Oh my. Let's kindly take a few more seconds to scan, select your topic. And then immediately after that, you're going to watch a documentary screening that will be able to bring all these themes that you're talking about to life. And then immediately after that, we will go for tea break and immediately break out into our sessions. Let me see another time. How many people have signed up? If you've signed in, say hi. If you're yet to do that, say nay. We still have about a quarter of somebody said hi and nay. Thank you for the engagement. So for those that have not yet been able to do that, please feel free to take a picture and you can be able to log in afterwards. Over to you, media team, with a documentary screening that will bring all these things that you're talking about to life.
Since 2013, Kenya has embarked on a transformative journey to ensure every birth and every death is counted, from the village to the capital. Through a web of dedicated officers and institutions, the Kenya Vital Statistics Report has become a cornerstone of planning, policy, and development. The journey starts at the grassroots. Assistant chiefs, acting as civil registration assistants, fill birth and death notification forms, B1 and D2, for events in the community.
We have CHVs and village elders and also Nyumba Kumi. They give me some information that there's a lady who has given birth, and they give me the names. Sometimes they go collect those names or that data and bring to the office or give me a call, and I register them, or sometimes I go there to the homes of the deceased or either to the home where there is a birth.
compared to some years back. Most of the assistant chiefs in Kenya today are learned. You are supposed to know computer, that is technology. And so the process is so good by far. In every county, we have a registration office. So services have been brought nearer to the community.
In health facilities, health records information officers do the same for facility-based events.
My role as a HRIO is first to collect, that is to register any event of a death or a birth that occur in a facility. That is when we will come and we compile the notifications, then we put as a dispatch, then we take it to the registrar of birth and death.
We have documentation and review of our statistics every month. By so doing, we submit it from the nursing desk, and then when it comes here, they are able to review, and we come together to ensure that the births are recorded or registered.
Kwa majina ni hapa Nilelwan. Nimefurahi kupata notification birth ya mtoto. Sasa ni rahisi kupata birth certificate ya mtoto. Asante sana Kajiado Referral Hospital. Birth certificate yenye nitapata itasaidia mtoto wangu akianza shule. Juu siku hizi lazima kuwe na birth certificate. Itakuwa rahisi kupata kazi. Pia itamsaidia kupata kitambulisho akiwa mkubwa.
At the sub-county level, civil registration officers validate data, assign official entry numbers, and sign off the registers. They compile monthly statistics using standardized birth and death templates, which are sent securely to CRS headquarters at Has Plaza.
At county level, one, I oversee the 3 sub-counties. Then I'm also in charge of compilation of the monthly reports, and also I'm also in charge of the staff establishment that I have in the county.
We used to use tally sheets, whereby we would do it manually, and it would take a lot of time. But with digitization, we are able to compile our reports in time by just sending an email. The statistics section is able to receive your reports in time. Digitization has really improved service delivery, whereby even the retrieval of our documents has been very easy.
At CRS headquarters in Nairobi, data from 290 sub-counties is compiled and cleaned. The Statistics Division generates detailed tables breaking down births and deaths by age, sex, region, and even cause of death.
We are registering and keeping data from the lowest administrative unit in this country. So the data is so good for people who are planning, people who want to do any research, demographic, government officers and government institutions, and other organizations. They can be able to use this data for evidence-based decision-making.
How the data collected is used at the county level is used to inform the decision makers. For example, the births. The county is able to budget for maybe the maternity, the requirements, because if we have 700 deliveries, we need enough stock to cater for the deliveries. We need reports, the causes of deaths. The county is able to look at where the problem is and come up with solutions.
We came from a system where there was almost nothing to a very digitalized system today. We are providing technical support. We are providing cooperation with other, facilitating the cooperation with other nations to make sure that the Kenyan government has access to the latest technology, the latest methods of collecting data and registering data. We have over the years been supporting financially to build up that department.
Once the data is refined, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics steps in. Together with CRS, they shape the data into the official Kenya-wide Statistics report through collaborative seminars, technical editing, and statistical validation.
Registration at birth and getting a birth certificate for a child is very critical for the country in terms of strengthening the National Population Register, having sound population policies, and also provision of services to the citizens.
With UNFPA's support, the final KVSR is printed and published. Alongside it, fact sheets, county profiles, and policy briefs make the data actionable for counties and ministries.
Civil registration and vital statistics, a good system to manage and collect all of that data is probably the most powerful and smartest investment a government can do. It will ensure that all its citizens have a legal identity. That will ensure the foundation for these individuals, the citizens, to exercise their human rights. The other thing, the government, of course, has an amazing data set, and that will allow them to do proper planning, budgeting, resource allocation, and do smart investments where it's needed.
The collaboration between civil registration and KNBS in the production of KVSR is that KNBS mainly provides the technical support. So as we are doing the preparation, the guidance on technical issues are mostly provided by KNBS. UNFPA at the same time does provide to us financial support and also technical support. We've also have had other partners, for example, vital strategies that have been supporting us in other various activities.
From government ministries to development partners, the KVSR has become essential. It informs policy, funding, and service delivery and supports Kenya's social-economic goals.
A government with a reliable vital statistics system can be in a position actually to make a determination of the population of the country or any area at any given time. And that one actually normally informs the kind of decisions and interventions that that particular country can do for its citizens. So the vital statistics report find actually its relevance in the whole ecosystem in terms of the fact that it gives reliable information for purpose of intervention in terms of health facilities, in terms of food, talk of poverty reduction and all these other things. There is no way you can plan for your people if you don't know the figures, you don't know exactly what affects them.
From humble beginnings in 2013 to a national benchmark by 2024, the Kenya Vital Statistics Report reflects a country determined to count every life and plan for every future.
Digitalization of CRS has made work very efficient.
Over the years, data collection has been reliable.
The journey as a health records and information manager has been fantastic.
I can say the process has been beautiful, good, and even the community has embraced it.
That was a wonderful video, right? Yes, yes. Let's appreciate the media team and all the team that pulled that together. Thank you so much for that. So we already have your feedback. Thank you for your feedback. That has helped us plan the next few sessions. So I'll call upon Dr. Romesh to be able to guide us into the breakout sessions and the rooms that we are going into. Immediately after tea break, please make haste, be settled in your session so that you can be able to start. And you'll also request our panelists to be there on time, 5 minutes before. Over to you, Dr. Romesh.
Okay, thanks so much, Charity, and thanks everybody. As a theme of our meeting, we do have a little bit of under-registration. So we had about 80% of people respond to the QR code, so thank you. So some decision-making under uncertainty, because we have different capacities for the 3 different breakout rooms. Session 7A will convene in Elgon A, which is actually downstairs in this building. and that will be chaired by, I believe, Claudia Wells. Excellent. And then sessions, and that will be on national strategic plans, just to remind everybody. Session 7B will focus on, thank you, excellent, interministerial. It'll be in Elgon D, which is this room. And then session 7C on digitalization will be in the Kumbaya meeting room, which is a couple of minutes walk away. And I believe in the garden, from the tea break, some of the hotel staff will accompany people from the tea break to the Kumbaya room. So listen up, because there'll be some announcements that, hey, we're moving to Kumbaya, and so to prevent anybody being left behind, that would be great. And just to reiterate Charity's announcement, just a request for our panelists and session chairs to reconvene in the 3 respective rooms about 5 to 7 minutes beforehand, so we can get off to a prompt start. So I think we're going to convene for a quick coffee and a snack for Charity. How long are we taking? Like 15 to 20 minutes, is it? Or? Okay, let's try for 15 minutes, but I do think that people, the line for the food and the coffee might take a little bit of time. I wonder whether the hotel could facilitate lines on both sides of the tables, because that would improve flow and access to the drinks and the food. So that could be a business process improvement. So excellent. Thanks everybody for a really great morning.
Sorry, can you just confirm what time we're starting and how long we have for the breakout session?
Okay, thank you. So, thanks for that clear question. So let's take it essentially at 11:50 now. So then let us aim to be in the breakout, the parallel sessions by 12:05, 12:10 at the very worst, okay? And the sessions are blocked for 90 minutes. So I would encourage our session chairs to try to constrain a little bit, closer to 70 minutes, so that we do make it to lunch at a reasonable hour. I think we should take lunch and then have a debrief from the parallel sessions. What I recommend is at lunchtime, we'll announce the room allocations for session 8, and then let's go to session 8 so that we can have a good flow of people to the 3 respective rooms. And then after session 8, let's have a debrief for session 7 and session 8, parallel sessions combined. Because I think the reality is, I've done some work on migration, and flow is a difficult thing. So reducing flow and transit points helps us get to the final destination quicker. Lunch is in the same place as yesterday, correct. Great, so everybody clear? We're taking tea break in the garden. We're spreading out to these 3 different rooms, Elgon A, Elgon D, Kumbaya. Let's aim to be settled, and the session chair beginning at the very latest by 12:10. We encourage our speakers and session chairs to convene a few minutes after 12, if possible, in the rooms. And then from the parallel sessions, we will go straight to lunch.